everyone, welcome to Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I'm coming in hot on this Monday morning, coming off an awesome Sunday of football. A lot of close games, a lot of games that came down to the wire that were super exciting to watch. A lot of questionable coaching that started off from the London game in the morning between the Dolphins and the Jags, which, yes, I'm on the West Coast and I was up for. That game started super early, but you know me, I love football, I love sports, so I'm up early, I'm watching, and it was super exciting. Gonna go through all the Sunday games real quick, see what we thought, see how things went, preview the Monday Night Football game, which comes on tonight, and it's the Buffalo Bills taking on the Tennessee Titans from Nashville. And then a quick little preview of the NBA season, which tips off tomorrow. Super pumped for that. This is the best time of the year for sports fans. Baseball, it's playoff time and things are getting serious. These series are coming down. So everything's happening right now in the sports world. If you're a hockey fan, hockey season's starting too. So all around, great time. My favorite time of the year. The weather's starting to cool down. So everything is good. Let's recap football. Did pretty good again on our picks. So I went 9-3. 4 teams had bye weeks, so obviously there were 2 less games this week to pick from. But from the 12 games that I picked, I went 9-3. That record has been above 500 significantly every week, and we're rolling still. Pretty good. My only losses were the Cardinals at the Browns, which we'll start with that game. Baker's got to go. That's really what it comes down to. I think this Browns team is super talented, but as long as they have Baker Mayfield under center, I don't think it's going to happen for them. I think he's becoming more of a liability than an asset. In this being his contract year, to be honest, I don't know where he goes from here. I don't see the Browns giving him an extension and retaining him as their starter. So I think they're going to look to move off from Baker. And, he's got some challenges. He's not the biggest guy, not super accurate. And, not looking good for him. It's costing him a lot of money. And it's costing the Browns a lot of wins, to be honest. But, aside from that, also the Browns defense did not show up in this game. Arizona was just pretty much doing whatever they wanted. They have this kid, Rondale Moore, who's like their 3rd or 4th wide receiver option, and he's freaking awesome. So the Cardinals, man, they're 6-0. Best team in the NFL right now, record-wise, if that's what you believe. And, a lot of times, hey, your record is what it is, and that's who you are. And the Cardinals are looking good, and the Browns stock is falling. So keep in mind, too, the Cardinals didn't have Cliff Kingsbury. He's out because of COVID. So they didn't even have their head coach in there. And Baker got hurt, but then came back. If he gets hurt more seriously at some point, and Case Keenum comes in, and, kind of what happened with the Vikings in 2017, where he came in and took them to the NFC Championship game, it may be the pattern that starts happening with Case Keenum. He comes in and proves to you that the starter that you had in there shouldn't be retained. So we'll see how that goes. That's the Cardinals-Browns. That was one of the losses that I had. The second loss that I had was the Bengals at the Lions. Hey, look, I'm an emotional guy. I saw Dan Campbell crying after last week's close loss to the Vikings. I was like, these guys will rally behind this emotion. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Emotions are not. You are what your record says you are. And the Lions, they're still winless. So they got smacked around by the Bengals. The better team won. We knew the better team was the Bengals, but I just felt like there could be some good energy going there with Detroit coming home, that they could rally. But no, they're winless, and they're getting lined up to have the number 1 pick in the draft next year. And maybe it'll be a quarterback. But in college world, there's not really a QB that's standing out this year either. So might not be the best quarterback draft, and the Lions, Jared Goff won't do the job, I think, moving forward. So we'll see what happens there. That was my second loss. And my third loss was I picked the Chargers to beat the Baltimore Ravens. I thought this could be a statement win for the Chargers. I thought they could go into Baltimore, get a dub, and, be all over the headlines today as could this be the next best team in the AFC. But no, their run defense stunk. The Ravens ran all over them. Lamar Jackson is quietly putting together an MVP season again, because he's already won one. And the Ravens, they look good. They look really good. They won this game 34-6. That's how bad the shellacking of the Chargers was. So those were my 3 losses. However, hey, listen, not many people picked the Jaguars to win the game. let alone to win a game right now. I picked them. I said they're going to beat Miami, and they did. Yes, there was coaching there that was horrible in that morning game, but the Jaguars got the job done. They got their first win of the season. They got a walk-off field goal to win it in London. So they're on the board. They're 1-5, finally in the win column. So Jacksonville gets the win there, gave me the win. Texans, Colts, not much to say there. Look, Houston is not looking good. The Texans, they just don't have anybody. Davis Mills is a rookie quarterback. And, while the Colts, they're a talented team that has lost some games that they should have won. That Ravens game, they had the game under control until late in the fourth quarter when Lamar just, took over. And so I thought coming into this game, the Colts needed to, come out strong. This wasn't going to be a trap game. They weren't going to be relaxed because they need to win games, and they need to win games now. So they're trying to bounce back from a terrible start to their season. They got off to a good start there. The Packers at the Bears. This was a super entertaining game, especially if you're a fan of a team within the division. But neither of these two teams, like me, I'm a Vikings fan. So watching this game was super entertaining. Just watching two divisional foes battle each other out. Aaron Rodgers talking some smack, which if I was a Bears fan would really piss me off. But if I was a Packer fan, I'd be all about it. So I love to see that. It's good competitiveness. And the Packers they showed the Bears why they're just a better team. They're the team that's going to win this division, I believe, no doubt. And, they won by 10. Justin Fields, week after week after week, it's good that he's out there and he's getting the reps. But like I've said, Chicago fans, don't be expecting to win these games if you're putting Justin Fields out there, because just like the rest of the rookie quarterback crop, these guys aren't ready to win right now. And, Fields does miss a lot of throws that should be made, whether it's just a simple out route and he might overthrow the guy. He had the interception, but that one, I won't even put that on him. He thought it was going to be a penalty, an offside penalty, so he thought he had a free play. He didn't. But yeah, it's growing pains. That's all I'm saying. With these guys, there's going to be growing pains. And we shall see how he continues to develop. But as long as you're continuing to develop a young quarterback, you can't be expecting to win these games, especially not when you're going up against an elite quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. All right, Chiefs in Washington took on the Washington football team, and this gave me a scare. This was my biggest actual real bet of the week. I had Chiefs -6.5, and I had them in a money line parlay. And in the first half, it looked bad. And it still doesn't make me feel great about this team moving forward. But the second half, they took over. Defense played much better. Mahomes did his thing, and they got the job done. But the defense is not good. And I'm starting to think that this Chiefs team, when they start, playing some of these top-notch teams in the league, I just don't see them contending for a Super Bowl this year. I think their reign may be over. And this is what happens sometimes when you have this top-notch quarterback that's making mega money like this. It starts to, handicap your cap space. So now Mahomes is going to start making $40 million a year, which is a $40 million cap hit. You don't have much left for the rest of the roster. And that's going to start to hurt. That's why Brady had so much success in New England, because he was taking pay cuts. He was, allowing them to use some of that money on free agents. And he's kind of doing that with the Bucs as well. And that's why he's having success. That's why the Chiefs had success prior to this, because they weren't paying Mahomes all this money. But with these teams, when that starts happening, it kind of hinders your cap. And then you got to strike on free agency, diamonds in the rough where you can, or through the draft. And that's why I really like the Cowboys. The Cowboys have some young guys that aren't getting paid yet that are difference makers, whether it's Micah Parsons or Trayvon Diggs. CeeDee Lamb. So we'll see how that plays out. But the Chiefs, I think they're starting to fall off a little bit. Vikes in Carolina take on the Panthers. I was feeling great. They were up by like 11 points with 4 minutes left. I already had 3-3 in my head. I was like, that's awesome. They're 3-3. They're at 500 going into the bye week. When then all of a sudden things changed. The Panthers tied up. And now I was sweating. And I was uncomfortable. And then they kick a potential game-winning field goal at the end of regulation and shanked it. So I'm like, oh my God, could we really be 2-4 now? My mind just shifted the other direction, and I was about to start crying. But Kirk Cousins, give this man his flowers. So far, he has saved jobs. He has saved a season. He is doing it all for the Vikings, and they were able to get the win with a walk-off touchdown in overtime, which, by the way, let me just say this. They're lucky that the coin toss went their way and that they got the ball first, because if they didn't, I'm pretty convinced the Panthers would have marched down the field and scored a touchdown themselves. And that last drive in the fourth quarter when the Panthers tied the game, Patrick Peterson went down for the Vikings, and he's their number one corner, and he was shutting down DJ Moore the whole game. And as soon as he went down, the Panthers started driving down the field. The Vikings corners are not that good. They need Patrick Peterson, and so lucky for them, the coin toss went their way. They got the ball first in overtime and didn't settle for a field goal. They were aggressive and got a touchdown, so good for them. Rams, Giants, not much to say there. The Rams just owned the Giants. It started off with the Giants up 3-0, and then it just went downhill for them. The Rams, they're a powerhouse team. They're awesome. So give the Rams their props there. They're looking good, and they destroyed the Giants. The Giants, they're going to need some help moving forward. They're banged up, and I don't know what goes on there with that franchise now moving forward. You want to give Joe Judge a chance, but 2 seasons in, you start to wonder if he's the right guy for the job. What do you do? So those are offseason questions for the Giants, but for right now, we can talk about the Rams and how good they are, and they're looking pretty good. Them and the Cardinals are the 2 solid teams in the NFC, along with the Bucks, and we'll see how that goes, and the Packers. Raiders at Broncos. I picked the Raiders. They were underdogs. They were 4-point underdogs in this game. But, hey, new coach, new opportunity to kind of right the ship for them after 2 straight losses, and they got the job done. The Broncos, on the other hand, didn't look good at all, and Vic Fangio might be looking for a new job soon as their head coach. The Raiders just look pretty impressive, and they need to stack up these wins in the AFC, and if they want to be considered at least a playoff contender, this was a big win for them. They're now 4-2 and feeling a lot better than they were last week post all that drama. Cowboys at Patriots. This was maybe the most entertaining game of the week in New England. It went back and forth. The Cowboys got a field goal or missed a field goal that could have gave them the lead. Then New England couldn't capitalize because they threw a pick 6 to Trayvon Diggs, Trayvon Diggs has 7 interceptions in 6 games this year. 2 returned back for a touchdown. He has more picks than more than half of the teams in the league, like significantly more. I think like 26 teams in the league don't have this many interceptions as just this one guy, Trayvon Diggs, does. So he's a stud, but right back after that pick 6, the Patriots used what is his biggest strength against him, which is that he likes to jump routes. Mac Jones found his receiver for a long touchdown that then gave them the lead. Then the Cowboys came back, and Dak Prescott went to work, tied the game up, and in overtime, each team, after the Patriots, I think, had the ball first, couldn't capitalize. The Cowboys came down. CeeDee Lamb got the game-winning touchdown and gave the Cowboys the win. So that was huge. What a great slate. The Sunday night game was the Seahawks at Steelers, which was, not the greatest game. But the Steelers eventually got the job done after a crazy sequence at the end where DK Metcalf gets the catch, fumbles, ball stays in bounds, guy falls on it, then they have to run and snap the ball, which Mike Tomlin was not happy that they reviewed the catch or whatnot. But at the end of the day, the spike was done with enough time. Whether it was 3 seconds or 1 second left on the clock, it was enough time. They should have gotten the field goal off anyway. They made the field goal, went to overtime, and then the Steelers took over. So, all right, that does it for the Sunday slate. And now when we look ahead at the Monday Night Football game, the Bills started off being 5.5-point favorites. And when I did my weekend picks, I picked the Bills to win. And I thought it would be kind of close. And I had the Titans plus 5.5. The more we're getting closer to game time, and the more this line, I guess, is going in my favor because it's giving me more points because now the spread is Bills by 6.5. And I'm not sure. Part of me does feel like it could be like a 31-10 blowout. But all I know is my money's on the Bills. I think the Bills are going to win this game. The over-under set at 53.5. And I think it'll be an under. I think the Bills defense, I'm giving them the respect now. They showed to me last week against Mahomes and the Chiefs that they are pretty solid. So hopefully they're not on too much of a high coming off that Chiefs win and play some solid football and just get to business and get the job done against the Titans. But yeah, that line is high at 6.5 already. So we'll see what happens there. But I think Buffalo will win this game. Overall, like I said, 9-3. Pretty good week. moving forward, moving ahead, and turning the page after tonight to week 7 in the NFL. But I'm going to turn the page now, and we're going to switch over to the NBA. I have my standing predictions. Whew, this was very difficult. The Eastern Conference is kind of stacked in the middle. That middle pack is really difficult to figure out. I think injuries and stuff will play a part, obviously, but man, it gave me a headache. This is the way I have the Eastern Conference playing out. I have the Milwaukee Bucks, the reigning NBA champions, finishing at the top as number 1. I think they are just as loaded, if not going to be better from that finals run. Giannis played on a different level down the stretch in the playoffs last year and into the finals. I think if he shows the same aggression, they're going to be pretty unstoppable. Plus, Giannis he's that dude. He's not one of these softy NBA guys who's going to be like, I need 5 days or 5 games off to get my mind off. He's a hard worker. He is down to business. He's going to work and work and work. And even though now he's an NBA champ, I think it's only going to motivate him to work harder because he's seen that hard work kind of be rewarded. So I think he's just built different. I think there's no slacking with the Bucks. I think they're going to just be just as good, if not great. They might chase bigger goals. They might say to themselves, like, let's set a franchise record in wins, whatever it may be. But I think they're motivated even still coming off a championship run. Plus, every team's going to be ready to take on them since they're the reigning NBA champs. And I think Giannis is the type to bring it and get excited for that kind of battle. So I got the Bucks finishing number 1. The Nets, as long as Kyrie is not with the team, I think they're going to be great. I think they're going to be the number 2 seed in the East. KD is enough, but then you have Harden, and you have all these other role players that aren't even role players. They're legit starters on any other team. Patty Mills is on this team now, so I would, honestly, with all the drama Kyrie brings, give me Patty Mills. I'm cool with Patty Mills. I think he's awesome. And I don't need a 30-point-per-game scorer in Kyrie Irving when you have James Harden and Kevin Durant. So, the Nets are my number 2 seed. Now, this is where it gets tricky. 3 to 7, those 5 teams right there gave me the biggest headache. I had so many scratch-offs. I have the Heat finishing as the 3rd team. I think defensively they're going to be pretty dang amazing. My question for them is obviously just health. I think their guys are a little bit older. Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry. So we will see how they do that and manage that. They have Oladipo as well, who's, banged up with some injuries in the past. But I have the Heat finishing 3 because I think Heat culture, and I think they're just going to be locked down defensively. They're going to be a great defensive team. And all these other teams that are just all about offense and flashiness and all this are going to have a hard time scoring on them. And the other teams don't pay as much attention to defense because they're all about the hype. So give me the Heat. I think they're solid. I think they'll finish as the number 3 seed. Number 4, I have the 76ers. I struggled with this, but Embiid, their shooters. Doc Rivers, I think, is solid, at least for a regular season coach. I think with Ben Simmons back, look, if they keep him, they've shown that with him on the court, they're a good regular season team. And if they trade him, whatever they trade him for is only going to help them anyway. Whether they trade him for CJ McCollum or whoever they trade him for is going to be a plus to that team regardless, but in a different way that Ben Simmons affects the game. So I think with Simmons back, unless he sabotages the team and just comes out here and, becomes a Kyrie Irving 2.0, I think the Sixers will be solid. But, I have them dropping. Last year they were up there in the East, and I think they'll be the 4 seed this year. So, moving on. Number 5. I struggled here, but I'm going to buy into the Bulls hype a little bit. I think the Bulls are going to be damn good offensively. I think with DeMar DeRozan coming in, they still have Zach LaVine. They got Nikola Vucevic last year. I think they have studs all over the place. Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso. Listen, forget his offense. This guy defensively is a great player, and he's probably their only defensive good player other than Patrick Williams, who's only in the 2nd year. So this team will struggle defensively. This is the team that's going to play the Heat and be super frustrated and lose by 20 to Miami because they won't be able to do stuff offensively. And defensively, they're just not, there's no focus on defense with this team, I don't think. So Billy Donovan's going to have to coach them up defensively. Offensively, they'll make it happen. But also, they don't have much 3-point shooting. Lonzo, honestly, might be their best 3-point shooter. So The Bulls I have coming in at 5. And, I bounce back and forth between them and the Celtics, which here I have put at number 6. I think they might be better with the new coach, but it's a new head coach. And I think it's one of these where everyone's always like the grass is always greener on the other side. I remember back when everyone was all on the Brad Stevens train and saying he's the next greatest coach. So the switch up from saying, all right, Brad Stevens is out, now this new guy is going to be the answer, like, we'll see. We shall see, because it could go the other way too. Maybe Brad Stevens was actually a really good coach, and maybe they struggle now. So I'm indecisive with them, but I mean, still a playoff team as long as they have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Those two are super talented. So the Celtics coming in at number 6, and then now we have the play-in games. So at 7, I have the Hawks. I think last year they caught a lot of people by surprise. Trae Young was magical, and most importantly, his role players came through. I mean, when Trae needed help and had to make the pass, his guys made the play. I think now teams are a little more aware of the Atlanta Hawks. They didn't really make a splash in free agency or bring in a big free agent signing. John Collins got paid, but I think teams are more aware of the Hawks. And so now, with that being said, they're not going to catch people off guard. When they're the team coming in, you're going to be like, oh man, this was an Eastern Conference Finals team. We need to play up to the competition. So I think they're going to struggle. Not a lot. I think they're still a playoff team, but I think they're going to struggle a little more than last year. So I have them coming in at 7. Same with the Knicks. I think the Knicks caught people by surprise last year. Julius Randle had a great season. I think this year, though, it's a little different. Teams will lock down on them. And I like some of the signings they made. Kemba Walker coming in there. But, Kemba's had some injury issues. And, Derrick Rose is a year older. So I'm not as high on the Knicks. But, again, playoff team. I think they're going to be right there at the end of the season. And number 9, I have the Raptors. And at number 10, I have the Charlotte Hornets. Indiana is the other team I considered here. Or maybe Cleveland. I think they'll be improved. But I think, ultimately the Raptors, I think defensively they're going to be kind of annoying for teams to play with Scotty Barnes there and when Pascal Siakam comes back. And I think, Nick Nurse is a good coach. So even though this may not seem like a playoff team, I think he'll find a way to get them at least into the play-in tournament, and we'll see where it goes from there. Obviously, in my bias side, I'm like, they're a playoff team. They'll be the 6th seed. But realistically speaking, I think they could be a 9 seed, and I think Charlotte will be the 10 seed. LaMelo showed that he could play last year. When he was out, they really struggled. So this really is a health thing. As long as they stay healthy and Gordon Hayward can stay healthy, I think Charlotte can make the play-in tournament as well. They made it last year, and Indiana beat them up. But I think Charlotte will be a little bit improved. LaMelo's another year older, and they have a young team. So I like them there. That's my Eastern Conference prediction. Now to the West. All right, surprise. This is what happens here. The West is just a lot older. The West got all these veterans. So I think injuries are going to be crucial in the West. And on top of that, management of these guys, because you have, like I said, in the East, you have Giannis, who's, a hard worker. In the West, you have LeBron, who needs some rest. Chris Paul probably is going to take some maintenance games and not play here and there. The Warriors are banged up. Clay's not back yet. And, so I think some of these top teams in the West that will still be there at the end of the season won't necessarily be at the top of the standings because the other guys are just younger, healthier, and going to be playing, they're still motivated by having the number 1 seed in the West. So with that being said, number 1, I have the Dallas Mavericks. I think Porzingis is a lot better. I think, a change of coaching there maybe changes some things up. And at the end of the day, Luka Doncic. That is why. I think this is his MVP season. I think this year he comes through on another level. He buys in and he does everything he needs to do. The Mavs have pieces around them. They have shooters. And like I said, if Porzingis can just be, even if he could be a number 3 type option for Luka, the fact that Luka is so good can make up for the lack of a number 2 guy. And his role players are pretty solid. So I got the Mavericks finishing it at number 1. Denver I have finishing at number 2. Jokic, same thing. This dude's going to play all the time. He's just, these Euro guys are just they're different, man. We're hard workers. They're not going to take days off to rest. So I think Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets going to be up there. Plus, Jamal Murray might not be back to 100% for a little while. So I think Jokic is going to have to carry the load, which he did pretty well last year. And then when Murray comes back, it's just another addition. I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to take another step forward for this team. And then once they find out how to blend the improvement of Michael Porter Jr. along with Jamal Murray coming back, this team's going to be pretty explosive. I think a pretty good team. Utah at number 3. I just think they're a great regular season team. But when they get in the playoffs, that's when trouble arises. Like I said, I don't even think they'll make the conference finals or anything like that. But I think they'll be the number 3 seed in the West because I just think that, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, when they don't scheme for these guys, they're a pretty good regular season team. And, they have good players there. It's just that in the playoffs, you can't win like that. So we'll see what happens there. And they have a good coach. And I think Donovan Mitchell has a pretty solid breakout season here and takes his game to another level. And makes another step forward. Number 4, I have the Phoenix Suns. I'm not trying to disrespect them, but like I said, Chris Paul is going to need maintenance. If not maintenance, it's hard to imagine him playing 75 of the 82 regular season games. That is significant. DeAndre Ayton didn't get an extension. So, with that being said, he's either going to be pushing because he's on a contract year, and he might be forcing a little bit more than normal, or he might be unmotivated and bothered, but either way, it's not good for the team. So I think Phoenix, and also kind of like Atlanta, Phoenix caught people off guard last year. No one thought they would beat the Lakers in the playoffs. And I think that's the moment when people really started taking them serious. So I think, they're going to still be a good team, but I don't think they're the number 1 and number 2 seed. I think they're going to be the number 4 seed in the West. And then we have the Lakers. Listen. The Lakers will be there at the end of the season, no doubt. And the Lakers, because they have so many veterans, aren't worried about a top 4 seed. They don't need the number 1 seed. They just need to get in. So with that and the motivation there, I think they'll be the 5th seed. And I think that's totally fine. They'll still have LeBron James. I think the Lakers are going to be pretty good when they're all healthy and they're all playing. But Russ, the key is to see how Russ handles the regular season because they could win a lot of games in the regular season, but LeBron, more than anybody, is going to know, how are we going to win in the playoffs? That's what matters. And so I think they'll be working on some things during the regular season that might cost them some games in the regular season, but will help them along for the playoff run. So that's why I got the Lakers at number 5. Number 6, I have Portland. I just think, consistency, the same guys, pretty much the same team. With Carmelo gone, I think in a way it will help them. It'll help some of the young guys like Norm Powell take his game to another level. Anthony Simons, I think, also can take his game up to another level. So I think a healthy Portland team is not bad, but I think they'll run into some of the same issues that they've always ran into. But I do like Portland, but I just don't like them that much. But enough to not put them in the play-in tournament. And the play-in tournament, I have the Warriors coming in at number 7 only because Klay is injured. But once they get in the playoffs, this team is dangerous. I think when Klay comes back, watch out because the Warriors might be back to the Warriors that we used to fall in love, that we fell in love with, and that we know in their championship years. Steph is amazing. Draymond is solid, and they got some young guys in there. But most of all, once they get Klay Thompson back, then watch out. And I mean, it's going to take some time to work him back into things, but his game, I think, is a perfect type of game to recover from these injuries because, he's not a ball handler. He's kind of a spot-up shooter that, he might just have to run around a lot, but, nothing crazy there. So I think where he'll lose a step is defensively. But the Warriors coming in at number 7. Memphis and Ja coming in at number 8. I think the Grizzlies, I think that's just where they are. I think they're an up-and-coming team. Jaren Jackson got paid today over $100 million contract, but he hasn't really proven it yet. So, he has to show up. Everyone thinks he's great, but we need to see it. So we'll see how that goes. I have them at number 8. Now, this was tough, but I dropped the Clippers to number 9. The only reason being is obviously the big one is Kawhi's not there, but also they're going to be so dependent on Paul George. Hopefully not, but if he tweaks an ankle or he's out for 3 weeks for any reason, I think this team's going to be really bad when he's not there because their other guys are just not They're not number ones. They're not number twos. And I don't even think they're number threes. Reggie Jackson, is he in the big three? I don't think so. So I think, the Clippers minus Kawhi, I just don't see it. And, they lost Patrick Beverly. And, Bev is, I love Patrick Beverly. He's a dog. People don't like him, but he's like Draymond. They make a difference. And, he wasn't even playing much last year for the Clippers. So I just think that they're going to have a tough time, especially with a lot of these improved teams in the West, without Kawhi, without that veteran, without that guy that's going to kind of take control, calm everything down. Paul George maybe is that guy, but if he's not feeling it that game, there's no one to pick up the slack, really. And, counting on guys like Reggie Jackson or Terrence Mann or some of these guys is cool, but I just don't think it's consistently reliable. So that's why I have the Clippers coming in at number 9. And number 10, hey, who wants to make the play-in tournament? And I put the Timberwolves. I think the Wolves will make it. I just think that, with the whole offseason, able to get some young pieces, I think they'll be improved. I think they'll be better. A guy like Patrick Beverly being on that team, I think will help them. Veteran presence there to talk to the young guys. So I think the Wolves come in at number 10. Those are my predictions for the upcoming NBA season. I cannot wait for things to tip off tomorrow. Bucks getting their championship rings tomorrow night, hosting the Nets without Kyrie, which I think, like I said, I think the Nets are going to be pretty good. He took 2 weeks off last year just for no reason in the middle of the season. So they'll be totally fine. Then you have the Warriors and the Lakers for the nightcap. So super entertaining basketball coming up. I'll be in Charlotte for our first halftime show of the season, the Charlotte Hornets home opener on Wednesday. I cannot wait for that. And moving forward, I'll be trying to balance out the NBA and the NFL and doing these as often as I can. But I will be busy. You guys can catch me online and see what shows we're doing and where we're at all the time. I'll try to post on there as often as possible. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. Remember, subscribe if you can and share. And I appreciate it, you guys. I will talk to y'all soon.